Turn the mic on. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:33. And do we have any public comments regarding closed session items? Hearing none, we'll close to closed session at 5:33.
In this place, students will explore the possibilities within construction industry and so much more. They'll leave not just with skills, but with certifications, confidence, and a sense of pride in what they've accomplished here.
So we used to say, back in the day, you always heard a saying, it takes a village. This could not have been possible without a lot of people doing what they did. And I'm very appreciative of that. It's something that when we can give our kids an opportunity and open their eyes to things that they probably never thought of, we know we're doing our job.
I am so excited to be part of this moment today where we're not only celebrating the opportunity our kids have, but hopefully the opportunity of many building projects in this city and in this county where we're gonna put these men, young men and women to work.
And the one who's going to be leading the charge, nobody has mentioned his name yet, but we are going to depend on him, is obviously our instructor. I call him Gabe Diaz, but they corrected me, they say Mr. Diaz. So I'm gonna say Mr. Diaz, thank you.
Perfect example of a partnership that is truly going to benefit not only this community, but the entire county of Ventura.
And what Santa Paula Unified School District, the City of Santa Paula, and of course, the international trades are coming together to do, it's to do just that, to create these opportunities for our students in the community.
Water infrastructure, the roads, the highways, all of that, we need a lot more of. And because of these young people, they're going to be on those projects going forward.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
In this place, students will explore the possibilities within construction industry and so much more. They'll leave not just with skills, but with certifications, confidence, and a sense of pride in what they've accomplished here.
So we used to say, back in the day, you always heard a saying, it takes a village. This could not have been possible without a lot of people doing what they did. And I'm very appreciative of that. It's something that when we can give our kids an opportunity and open their eyes to things that they probably never thought of, we know we're doing our job.
I am so excited to be part of this moment today where we're not only celebrating the opportunity our kids have, but hopefully the opportunity of many building projects in this city and in this county where we're gonna put these men, young men and women to work.
And the one who's going to be leading the charge, nobody has mentioned his name yet, but we are going to depend on him, is obviously our instructor. I call him Gabe Diaz, but they corrected me. They say Mr. Diaz. So I'm gonna say Mr. Diaz. Thank you.
Perfect example of a partnership that is truly going to benefit not only this community, but the entire county of Ventura.
And what Santa Paula Unified School District, the city of Santa Paula, and of course, the international trades are coming together to do. It's to do just that, to create these opportunities for our students in the community.
Water infrastructure, the roads, the highways, all of that we need a lot more of. And because of these young people, they're going to be on those projects going forward.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
In this place, students will explore the possibilities within construction industry and so much more. They'll leave not just with skills, but with certifications, confidence, and a sense of pride in what they've accomplished here.
So we used to say, back in the day, you always heard a saying, it takes a village. This could not have been possible without a lot of people doing what they did. And I'm very appreciative of that. It's something that when we can give our kids an opportunity and open their eyes to things that they probably never thought of, we know we're doing our job.
I am so excited to be part of this moment today where we're not only celebrating the opportunity our kids have, but hopefully the opportunity of many building projects in this city and in this county where we're gonna put these men, young men and women to work.
And the one who's going to be leading the charge, nobody has mentioned his name yet, but we are going to depend on him, is obviously our instructor. I call him Gabe Diaz, but they corrected me. They say Mr. Diaz. So I'm going to say Mr. Diaz. Thank you.
Perfect example of a partnership that is truly going to benefit not only this community, but the entire county of Ventura.
And what Santa Paula Unified School District, the city of Santa Paula, and of course, the international trades are coming together to do. It's to do just that, to create these opportunities for our students in the community.
Water infrastructure, the roads, the highways, all of that, we need a lot more of. And because of these young people, they're going to be on those projects going forward.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
In this place, students will explore the possibilities within construction industry and so much more. They'll leave not just with skills, but with certifications, confidence, and a sense of pride in what they've accomplished here.
So we used to say, back in the day, you always heard a saying, it takes a village. This could not have been possible without a lot of people doing what they did. And I'm very appreciative of that. It's something that when we can give our kids an opportunity and open their eyes to things that they probably never thought of, we know we're doing our job.
I am so excited to be part of this moment today where we're not only celebrating the opportunity our kids have, but hopefully the opportunity of many building projects in this city and in this county where we're gonna put these men, young men and women to work.
And the one who's going to be leading the charge, nobody has mentioned his name yet, but we are going to depend on him, is obviously our instructor. I call him Gabe Diaz, but they corrected me, they say Mr. Diaz. So I'm gonna say Mr. Diaz, thank you.
Perfect example of a partnership that is truly going to benefit not only this community, but the entire county of Ventura.
And what Santa Paula Unified School District, the city of Santa Paula, and of course, the international trades and trades are coming together to do. It's to do just that, to create these opportunities for our students in the community.
Water infrastructure, the roads, the highways, all of that, we need a lot more of. And because of these young people, they're going to be on those projects going forward.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
In this place, students will explore the possibilities within construction industry and so much more. They'll leave not just with skills, but with certifications, confidence, and a sense of pride in what they've accomplished here.
So we used to say, back in the day, you always heard a saying, it takes a village. This could not have been possible without a lot of people doing what they did. And I'm very appreciative of that. It's something that when we can give our kids an opportunity and open their eyes to things that they probably never thought of, we know we're doing our job.
I am so excited to be part of this moment today where we're not only celebrating the opportunity our kids have, but hopefully the opportunity of many building projects in this city and in this county where we're gonna put these men, young men and women to work.
And the one who's going to be leading the charge, nobody has mentioned his name yet, but we are going to depend on him, is obviously our instructor. I call him Gabe Diaz, but they corrected me. They say Mr. Diaz. So I'm going to say Mr. Diaz. Thank you.
Perfect example of a partnership that is truly going to benefit not only this community, but the entire county of Ventura.
And what Santa Paula Unified School District, the city of Santa Paula, and of course, the international trades are coming together to do. It's to do just that, to create these opportunities for our students in the community.
Water infrastructure, the roads, the highways, all of that we need a lot more of. And because of these young people, they're going to be on those projects going forward.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
In this place, students will explore the possibilities within construction industry and so much more. They'll leave not just with skills, but with certifications, confidence, and a sense of pride in what they've accomplished here.
So we used to say, back in the day, you always heard a saying, it takes a village. This could not have been possible without a lot of people doing what they did. And I'm very appreciative of that. It's something that when we can give our kids an opportunity and open their eyes to things that they probably never thought of, we know we're doing our job.
I am so excited to be part of this moment today where we're not only celebrating the opportunity.
And good evening again. Let's see, we'd like to reconvene to open session at 6:01. And we will start with roll call. We'll start with our student trustees. Trustee Gonzalez,
Present.
Trustee Magaña,
Here.
Trustee Torres.
Here.
Moving on to board, Trustee Kumazawa,
Here.
Trustee Rodriguez,
Here.
Trustee Sandoval,
Here.
Trustee Frutos,
Here.
and myself, Trustee Arroyo. We're all here. Item B, report of closed session, and we have nothing to report at this time. And moving on to Pledge of Allegiance, if you can please rise and join us. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item D, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Item 4, staff reports. And we'll start with our student board member reports. And whoever would like to start first.
I will. Good evening, everybody. I will begin my report tonight with Glen City. They had their back to school night last week. It was a huge success. I was able to attend, and it was looking very good. There's an attendance spirit week this week, so Mr. Guzman, in order to help increase school attendance, he is having a spirit week that has attendance themes. So I think Thursday it's going to be roll out of bed and into success. So it's going to be their pajama day. I think yesterday it was a like a stoplight day, like wear bright colors, for a bright future. They're also working with their special education population to help them succeed as well, performing and helping with them with their schedules. For the Blanchard Academy of Visual Arts, they had their back to school night this 18th, so I will be planning on attending that. And then Ms. Lopez also noted that attendance has over doubled from tardies to now kids who are on time. So they're noting that their attendance incentive programs are working. For Santa Paula High School athletics, the gym floor will be redone and finished sometime around this week. There's a cross-country meet at Creek Sports Park on 9:30 at around 3:30 p.m. Their teams have done well so far this season. Flag football is 5-1, varsity boys is 2-1, girls varsity volleyball is 2-1 in the league play, and JV girls volleyball is 3-0 in league play. Cross country has several medal finishers in their first two invitations at UCSB and CSUCI, and tennis had their first league match this week, and girls golf starts their season this week. From Isbell, they had their back to school night on August 21st, so parents and teachers were invited to come out. They received presentations from the clubs that were on campus there. Parents also attended the book fair as they waited for classes to open up. Students were very excited to have their parents meet their teachers. They also had an assembly from Brett Poppin. He is a Paralympic athlete. He provided an inspiration assembly to their students on August 29th. His message was for students to learn to be positive in the face of adversity. Brent Poppin is also in a wheelchair. He is in there for life, I believe. So he actually brought some of his wheelchairs down to the school and allowed kids to ride in them over like a little obstacle course. So that way, like it could be like, like how does he get like move around? They also had their first Spirit Friday this past week. So students and Isabel staff celebrated the new school year with a Spirit Friday celebration during their lunches. Music and games were played with the student staff, water balloon toss highlighting the day. They also have their fall sports. Isabel boys and girls flag football seasons have started, and Isabel is looking to have some big wins this year. Girls volleyball had a record number of girls try out, and the Condor team is stronger than ever. Cross country is literally up and running and looking forward to a terrific season. That is all I have to report for this week.
Thank you. Trustee Magana?
First, I will be presenting on Bedell. Bedell has their back to school night next Thursday, September 18th. They also have been having their weekly Dancing with Cheese, which is when the students get to have hip hop classes, and the students have really been enjoying that. For Barbara Webster, their outreach coordinator, Jessica Limon, has been engaging with parents and parent groups, as well as implementing creative new ways to promote student attendance. They are currently recruiting new members for their PTA and planning for their 100th year anniversary. For the Santa Paula High School Performing Arts, auditions for the fall production of Real Housewives of Shakespeare will be tomorrow and Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. in the auditorium. And some other SPHS events, there was a UCSB presentation on UC applications and PIQs today during 3rd and 4th period. There is also a Club Rush date this Friday, and next Friday, the 19th, there will be the first rally, and Spirit Week is also next week, and the rally is a fall sports rally.
Thank you. Trustee Torres?
Good evening. For today, I have Grace Thill. Grace Thill hosted Coffee with the Principal. Families got to connect and share information as well as give feedback. Thill is preparing for back to school night, Thursday, September 11th. Tacos will be served at 4:30. Avid presentations will be at 5:30 for 4th through 6th grade parents. They will also be having their annual Title I meeting on Friday, September 12th at 8:15 a.m. They hope for a strong turnout. This week, McKevitt kicked off Spirit Week to encourage good attendance. Each day has a fun theme. For example, today was Tie-Dye Day. Great attendance is tied to great learning. Each class got a presentation of the importance of kindness as well. For Renaissance High School, over the last 2 weeks, the principals and counselors met with all at-risk students and their families to review graduation progress. These meetings were very positive and helped students set clear goals for finishing strong. Catalyst Church generously added a new couch to our game room, which, although is still a work in progress, has already become a popular space for students during break and lunch. Renaissance hosted a VC financial aid presentation and created FSA IDs and FAFSA for FAFSA night. 12 families representing both Renaissance High and Independent Studies attended. Independent Studies enrollment continues to grow and has recently added 10 new students. The principal and counselor visited virtual classrooms to remind students of expectations and the supports available to them. Back to school night is currently happening at Renaissance High School tonight. Families can enjoy free burritos from the garden market as they meet their children's teacher and staff. And that is all I have for you for this week.
Thank you. And moving on to committee updates. And start with Trustee Kumazawa.
No updates.
Trustee Rodriguez.
No updates.
Trustee Sandoval.
Just one update. This past Monday, our strategic planning committee met. We made really good progress. As you recall, we had our Saturday workshop about a month and a half ago, which formed the basis of what we're creating. So we've had some really good discussions trying to drill down into some of those bigger items that we've talked about. And, we're making good progress. I think that, it's going to be a good foundational draft, right? Certainly we want to engage with all the rest of our stakeholders, but we wanted to take what the board was doing and kind of, give it some life, and then have interaction with those different stakeholders to get their input and, you know, and modify it. So it's a shared document, so.
Thank you. Trustee Frutos.
Same as Dr. Sandoval, attended the Strategic Planning Committee. My takeaway is I really love how there's a comprehensive committee willing to put all of our ideas and thoughts together for one common goal. It's to best meet the needs of our students. It's awesome to see a collaborative think tank going on and seeing the good work. So I definitely look forward to seeing the end product, but that after several more meetings, no doubt. But I think we're on the right path, and I think anyone out there that wants to see what we're doing, get kind of glimpse of what we're doing, will be impressed with the level of discussion that we're having. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. And I have nothing to report. Do we have any public comments this evening? We have none, so we're moving on to information items. Our first item is Ventura County Public Health Department. To be presented by Dr. Castell.
Good evening. Let me grab this. My name is Aldine Castell, and I am the Public Health Officer for Ventura County. I started in January of this year. So as probably most of you know, there was a case of active TB in one of your schools, and I'm just going to give you a real brief primer on TB in general, and then walk you through the steps of which some people here, Vanessa, Jeff, are all very well aware of and intimately involved with. Next slide. So really quickly, what is TB? TB is an airborne disease caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosum, and it is only spread from person to person through the air, so through coughing and sneezing and expulsatory air movement. There are actually two different forms of TB, which is sometimes hard for people to wrap their head around. There is the inactive form where someone has the bacteria, but they are not sick and they are not contagious, and they can live their whole life with this bacteria sleeping and never have any problems with it. And then there's the active form, and that's when someone is very sick and very contagious, and it is a very dangerous infection. Next slide. So that's just the general overview of TB. I obviously can answer questions in more detail about the disease if people have those. But when we have a case in the county, and this is state and countrywide, there's certain protocols that we go through. First is the initial identification of the case, and then to assess the risk to the community at large from the contagiousness of that case. We then try as quickly as possible to communicate with the area and the communities that are at risk. We try to have meetings, groups, sessions to inform and educate people about it. And then we move into test and screen people who are at risk from being in contact with that person. And then ultimately, if there are people that need to be treated, supported, that we enact that through our clinic in Oxnard. Next slide. So what happened here, we were notified over the weekend, if not Monday morning, of a case that was in the school. We very quickly contacted the school and notified the people at risk. Of note, which is really interesting, which kind of we were explained to and we had to help everybody understand that TB is not like COVID. And the school system was very adept at handling COVID. You all went through COVID and pivoted incredibly quickly for any outbreaks from 2020 to 2023 or whenever we kind of ramped things down. And so everybody was ready to act immediately. And one of the good things about TB is that it doesn't move fast. So we didn't have to pivot quickly. You don't have to limit spread immediately, and we can move in a more methodical and thoughtful way. And so that was a little bit of a learning curve from the school. And it was something, interestingly enough, for us that we've had cases in the county, but this is the first time that we've had a school case since COVID. And I've done many school cases, but it was all before COVID. And so I didn't quite factor in that we've all been slightly traumatized by COVID. And so it's a little bit of a different animal now than it was before 2020. Anyway, so we identified the case and then notified the school, worked with the school, and I will just say, I don't say this lightly. This is the 4th school that I've worked with in 17 years with a TB case, and it was by far the most organized, receptive, helpful experience I've had yet. And it might be that COVID helped with that, but not just the principals and the school board, but the employees and even the students and the families were amazing to work with and really came together. And so it's an editorial comment, but I really want to thank everybody. So we identified the case, we identified the people that were at the highest risk, and then we notified those people. We set up a makeshift kind of clinic in the school and tested people. A few people got tested with their primary care doctors, so they got tested elsewhere. And actually this slide is as out of date right now because now we have 97% of results back from everybody identified. And wonderfully, there was no evidence of any transmission in the school. So that means that nobody in the school, it appears, was infected by the case that was identified. Next slide. So just to give you an overview in general, when we go in and we test people, if they have they will have blood tests, and that blood test, if it comes back, it does not mean that they're sick and that they have active TB, as I identified earlier. It means that they could have been in contact with the person who had active TB. They could have also been positive from years ago and been in contact with someone with TB 20 years earlier. So we cannot necessarily identify exactly when they had contact. But obviously, some people we had high suspicion that there may have been in contact with them. So if somebody had a positive blood test, that means that they were in contact, but it did not mean that they were sick. People who had positive tests had chest x-rays to look at whether or not there was any issues going on in their lungs. And then anybody that was positive, we saw them in the clinic very soon thereafter their testing. Next slide. For the negative results, of which the majority are all negative, they don't need to do much more at that time, but we do a follow-up blood test 10 weeks after the first one is done. And that is because in rare cases, sometimes the TB bacteria can be negative initially and then it develops later on. So everybody who had a negative blood test will be tested again. So we will be setting up another makeshift clinic. I'm sure you know aware of that, and be testing all those people again. The date of that repeat testing, I don't have off the top of my head, and if anybody wants it, that I can contact the nurse manager who's there. But it was 10 weeks after the first testing. Next slide. So we completed all the testing, the 97%, why it wasn't 100%. There was one individual that moved and we're still trying to track them down. And there is one other student that we're trying to find that is at a different school, but otherwise everybody else has been tested. Again, the second round testing for the people that were negative will happen in the next few weeks. Anybody that did test positive, we saw in the clinic and we evaluated to see if we felt like this was from the transmitted case that had it, or if this was from a previous exposure, and handled their cases individually as such. And I just shout out to Vanessa. She's been amazing. We're in constant contact with her, and she was ready to do whatever needed. As she joked earlier, she now knows more about TB than she ever thought she would. And we are continuing to follow the people that tested negative, but as of right now, we're kind of at a lull, and we will set up that clinic in a few weeks. Next slide. So key takeaways, this is from a presentation I gave a few weeks ago that may be a little bit out of context because I didn't give you a follow-up, but if somebody tested positive by blood test, but were not sick and their chest x-ray was clear, they had the inactive form of TB. You cannot transmit TB if you have that form. So if anybody tested positive, or if anybody ever gets a TB test and is positive, most likely it is the latent or inactive form. So you cannot transmit that to anyone by any means. You are very unlikely to become infected with TB if you spend short amount of time. And that's another difference with COVID. On average, you need about 7 to 9 hours of exposure with someone to get TB. So again, it's not common that there is transmission, but we as public health want to be very careful and diligent about making sure of that, and that's why the contact investigation it happens for any case that we find. An important thing about TB, so not to scare people, TB is the most common bacteria in the world. Half of the world's population tests positive for inactive TB, so it's pervasive. It is also the most common cause of death in the world. So we are very lucky in our country, our state, and in our city that we don't really know that much about it because it's not that common. But for the rest of the world, this is really common. And we are here as public health to try to limit any spread, and it has been the mandate of public health for more than 100 years to do so. And people like yourself and all the cooperation we got enables us to not know that much about TB as a public because it's not really out there, which is wonderful. But now everybody in this room, and especially Vanessa and Jeff, know a lot about TB. So hopefully you can go out, and if people have more questions, you can educate them as well. And if you all have questions for me, please feel free to contact us.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
It was very thorough.
And
Vanessa filled this in.
I do have one question, more of like a comment, because I know at the beginning there was this idea that people, that the community had, that like everybody should be tested, right? Anybody who was in there. And so, just can you explain the reasoning for that? Like, I understand the science behind it, right? So
the question is why didn't we test everyone in the whole community? Well, because again, when we come into a situation, we identify where there was a lot of contact. And remember, you need hours and hours of exposure. So the way that we go about this is that we identify the people that probably had that amount of exposure, and we test those people. And if it appears within that group of people that there was transmission, then we would make the decision to expand that testing. So that is what we have done here in Ventura. That's what California Department of Public Health, and that is what CDC and WHO do. There is approximately a 5% positivity rate in our public. So for us to kind of just throw a big net and test everybody, it wouldn't really help us to really identify people that were at risk from that transmission. So again, it's called concentric circles of testing. So we choose the close circle, and we identify people that had that expected amount of exposure. And then if we identified in that circle that there did seem to be transmission, we would expand that circle to test more people.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? No? Okay, great. All right.
Okay, so next we have our school resource officer contract. And that will be by Mr. Weinstein.
Yes. So unlike most of our contracts, because this is directly with the city and a lot of people in the public don't know what the resource officer actually does during the day, we decided to put this on information item, and it will actually be an action item at the next meeting. So this way it can be reviewed, you can ask questions. So really, like most contracts, it's designed to be for the 25-26 school year. It also lists in detail what the SROs assigned to the district will be able to perform and any additional functions. It gives the time that they report and the time that they leave the schools. So since they're at the secondary schools, which start at 8:30, they come at 8 and leave at 4. How they're paid is they work 246 days, and then they have 14 holidays. So that's 260 paid days, and then they get a daily rate, much like our teachers have a daily rate. And so then they take that daily rate and they multiply it by 180 school days. Factors that would increase that dollar amount, and we are working with Chief Aguilar right now on that, is if we have an SRO, let's say we have a football game and we want at least one SRO there, right? We can either have the SRO or they can assign an officer that's already on duty there. If we do the SRO gets overtime. So way to save a little bit of money. In addition, the way you can see that the two positions cost approximately $251,000, but we are in the process of working on a grant that will pay a large portion of that. And there's also, for summer school, the cost of one SRO for 20 days, and that's at the high school. So because we don't have summer school at the middle school, so we only need one. Any questions?
There was a section in the contract regarding educational or where they would be available to do presentations. I'm wondering, I mean, are we looking at maybe on the short days?
Yeah, so it's their presentations are often like tobacco awareness, vaping, and also they're available to talk career-wise, what it's like to be an enforcement officer, and so that's part of their duties suggested, that they're going to work with our security staff and perform those tasks. So they do counseling at-risk students. So, which is something that I think is really positive. They participate in the SARB hearings. And they also, like I said, work with school administrators, counselors, and teachers in implementation of violence prevention, drug and tobacco abuse, use prevention programs, activities designed to reduce bullying in school, emergency and crisis planning. So they get to do all that through the year. And we've had a lot of positive feedback from students on those activities and the two resource officers, and we've been really lucky over the last 2 or 3 years, the resource officers are able to build a relationship with the students. The only negative part about the resource officers, and not negative about them, but this contract, so if a resource officer is really good at being a resource officer, then there's an opportunity for them to be promoted, they're promoted out of our school. And so what ends up happening, then you have to bring a brand new SRO in, and that brand new SRO has to rebuild those relationships, because it really is a personal relationship the kids have with these SROs. Any questions on the contract?
Yeah, for their presentations, are they just limited to tobacco use and vaping, or can they expand to other things that
Yeah,
are,
they're going to do
yeah.
anti-bullying, violence prevention, even crisis and emergency services management. And then and that's in big groups, but then they also will do individual counseling. If we have an at-risk student that obviously when they're not on our campus is doing at-risk activities and it's identified, they come in and work directly with our counselors to talk to the student and see what they can do to help them.
Are there any material changes between this agreement and some of the past agreements we've had with the city?
No, the only material change was from 2 years ago, where when one of our past CBOs left, we discovered that the contract was for the entire year of services. So we're paying the 260 days of services, but they're only on our campus 180. The other thing about that 180 now is, and we did this last year, was if a SRO leaves the campus in the middle of the day because he's needed somewhere else, that's documented, and that reduces the invoice. And that was one of our, and when I first got here, that was one of our biggest problems was they would be called, and obviously it's an emergency, so they would run off campus, and then something happens on campus, and the principal's like, well, where's the SRO? And the good part about being in Santa Paula is everything's 5 minutes away. So when they can't find the SRO, they do 911, and you know, they're there pretty quickly.
But I appreciate the comment too, Jeff, about the overtime when, you know, utilizing the SRO versus the PD. But,
Yeah.
you know, I would argue too, though, and you touched on this, you know, these folks develop relationships with the staff, they develop relationships with the students. And, you know, if we feel like there's a value there to have those people when we need them rather than, you know, just an armed, you know, police officer or a uniformed police officer, I would argue, I mean, this might be a situation where it's worth it.
Well, like things like the very friendly Fillmore game, football game, you know, that we definitely will use resource officers. But it did come, as I was negotiating the contract with the city and the Chief Aguilar, it did come as a surprise to me that the SROs we're charged overtime. And one of the things I talked to them about is, well, can't they start later in the day? And then it's actual, not overtime for them. Why are we paying overtime? And they said that they would do that, or they would, if the officer couldn't report later in the day, then we would switch them out with just a police officer.
In terms of the grant,
That's what I was gonna
what's the
ask.
status of that?
I talked to
Okay.
Chief Aguilar today, talked to him about a number of things today, but I talked to him today, and they said that it's, that they have submitted it. We haven't heard anything though yet.
Okay.
The grant's from where? Is it like a state grant? Is it
It's a state grant, and it's,
the amount?
what's it called again?
Oh, cops, what?
Yeah. So it's
And it would cover like what percentage of the?
80%.
80, okay.
And you could also get a portion of that grant, you know, because it is a competitive grant. So sometimes it'll be less, but the idea is to get the 80%. Absolutely.
Hey, Jeff, I just want to say good job here, because we know that this has been a long, hard work in the making. It's taken several 2x2 meetings, and I know it's taken several meetings with you, Chief Aguilar, and Dan Singer, with the city manager. So again, this is what it was before and how much it's improved to this contract. Good job right there. I'm excited. I mean, I get it. You know, I was kind of the one pushing for let's get them paid. We want to keep our safety, but I wanted to make sure that the contract was right. So the language here, this first time we're seeing it, you've done a stellar job. So you and your partners, good job right there.
Yeah,
So.
and the one thing that I can say is I was surprised that the city's lawyer, obviously the lawyers work with us on this, was so quickly responsive, because normally in the past we're waiting for the lawyers to take a look at things and stuff. And I have to compliment the city manager, Dan Singer, Chief Aguilar, Commander Sterna. They're really easy to work with. And as many of you know, the Parent Square today went out, excuse me, concerning some activity in our area, and chief and the commander promised me that if they knew anything about it, I would be the first to get the text message, and they did. And so I was really happy with that. So we have a really good relationship with them. We really do. Dr. Sandoval? No? You don't feel like talking to me?
I could, I mean, well, it's
We're
just,
good.
it's good that this relationship is as strong as it is, because, a year or two ago, it was dicey.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad we gave them a little bit of faith, right? That they could turn it around, because I think they've proved that was worthwhile. That was well placed. So, I just look forward to working with them more on, say, the expansion of our CTEs, and doing public service. So, always looking for other opportunities where we can interact with the department. Maybe there's some project-based learning activities we could do,
Sure.
alongside them. So, it's just all around good.
And also, I didn't want to be remiss in complimenting the actual patrol officers that are out there. For the beginning of school, they were incredibly active around all our campuses. And normally it just basically involves making sure that people who are driving in a safe, sane way around our schools, but they were very, very present this year, which I really appreciated. That's it for the information item.
Thank you. Under action items, it starts with A, superintendent, but I don't see an item under A for you.
No, there's nothing under it.
Okay. So then we move on to item B, educational services, and the first item would be approval of service agreement with Blazer Works for staffing services.
Yes.
Hi, this is a contract for an occupational therapist to fill a position. The position number was shared with the board. And like I said, it's to fill a current vacancy that we have for an occupational therapist.
Do you have any questions, comments, or is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the Blazer Works contract.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Preferential vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes. Board vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Great. Okay, so item 2 would be approval of service agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clara Valley. And that'll be. Okay.
So, as you know, Dr. Ramirez couldn't be here tonight, but we had the advantage of, while Dr. Ramirez was out, to have Julie Bergman, our Director of Elementary School Education, step in and talk directly to the Boys and Girls Club. And with the reason I have to, talk about that this is way late in the game to be signing an after-school contract. I will take the bullet for that. We should have started much earlier in the year, but one of the problems we had was we weren't getting descriptions of what the charges were. As you see, it's $4 per student in food costs. Also, there's a 12% administrative fee attached that there was no explanation of, well, what are we getting for that 12%? I mean, that's $30,000 just for an unknown cost. And so the others were broken down pretty good. We have the payroll that they're paying out. We also have the supervision that they're paying out. But it really was those two items that we kept going back and forth on. And I know that the previous leader of the Boys and Girls Club, she told me at the barbecue that she retired and that Pearl is now running the Boys and Girls Club. But we have it all worked out. It sounds great. And I really think it's going to be a good program.
Do you know how many hours a day they'll be spending?
3.5.
Okay. I missed it on the contract.
Yeah, it's 17 hours a week, 5 days a week.
And this is a 1-year contract, correct?
one-year contract. So we're going to be this, along with Leap Lab, along with the Art Museum. We are obviously going to be doing an evaluation, bring that to the board so that the board knows in hopefully March of 2026 if we'll be bringing these type of contracts back. So that'll be well before the beginning of the school year. But we will do some evaluations. Some of those evaluations will be surveys. Some of the evaluations will be exactly like for Leap Lab, actually reviewing the projects that are being done and things like that.
So I would want to just, I guess I would want to make an amendment like that the contract shows the amount of hours per day on it.
So yeah, we can make that adjustment. I mean,
Because
it
on
does
there, yeah,
say-
it just says $4 per kid, 28 students a day, 5 days a week, 31 weeks, 180 days times 6 schools. But it doesn't, are the hours there? Did I just miss it?
It's 17 hours a week. 17.5 hours a week is in the contract.
Oh, it was just one sheet on the
Yeah,
on the
there's an
item.
additional sheet, yeah.
Okay, as long as it's
So-
there, that would be
Yeah,
my
it's very-
only.
you know, 3.5 hours, one of the good things that Mr. Bergman was able to talk to them about was we really wanted to, as you see, it says 28 students. And 3.5 hours for 28 students, we thought was a little excessive in the number of time that we could do maybe twice that number of students in 3.5 hours. So we're working on that too.
One thing I appreciate, Jeff, is the idea of reflecting on, evaluating. I know we charged our leadership team to create those partnerships with local agencies to provide a service for our kids. So I get, it may not be the most perfect contract, but I do appreciate that we'll at least, evaluate and then approve upon if need improvement, right? I mean, it may be the right one, but the fact that we're moving in that direction, I just, I want to say thank you to Ms. Bergman and thank you to our leadership team because we did charge you with this, and I'm excited that we're moving in this direction. One of the things that does, make me feel good is that knowing that we are also giving jobs back to some of our own former community members, students, and whatnot. So that's a real plus for me. But I am excited about this. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I think it's gonna be real well. Real well. Any other questions?
Again, more of a comment. Yes, it is very late, right? Having this come next year, getting ahead of myself, right? We're going to be looking at our unaudited actuals. We have quite the reserve in this particular line, right? ELOP. And we need to have a better strategy on how we're using that. It does feel rushed, right? That we're bringing these contracts. I know they're working on the summer. It's like, I want to know the plan by March. Like, what are we trying to do here? And we need to utilize that money as effectively as we can. At some point, if I worry sometimes what the state will do with that. If we're sitting on that pot and the state starts getting into trouble, which, next year they've been sounding the alarm bells that it's not going to be as good as this year. I worry about getting swept and then we lose that. Right. And so, we really need to look at how we're developing a program, and how all of these things fit in and what are the things we can be providing. How do we expand what we do? All of that has to be looked at because we need to utilize that fund better than we are, especially given the general fund, issues that we've got.
Our goal is, just so the board knows, our goal is that as soon as we get back from winter break, which will be the middle of January, we will start the programmatic process of figuring out exactly what we want in the program, do the evaluation of how the program has been done the first semester. And then that way we can negotiate the contracts early and they will be already embedded into the adopted budget. So we'll be able to see exactly how much we're spending, what would possibly be left over and all that. But you're very right, we do need to be on top of this early.
And I just have a comment. I'm very happy that we have evaluations in place just to evaluate the effectiveness of this program. I understand that we do need to spend the money, but I also want to make sure we're providing a quality service for our students. So thank you for giving our students a voice in terms of surveys, in terms of reactions, because we can agree that a program looks nice on paper, but if our students are not reaping the benefits through their own experience, and I'm also grateful it's a one-year contract. I prefer one-year contracts, especially since this is a new thing. The contract's not perfect, right? But it can be better as long as we can renew it, reevaluate it, and move forward. So I'm just glad you're able to disclose that to the public, that the students of our district will have the chance to react, and we will listen.
Yeah, and we let each of the LEAP Lab, the Art Museum and Boys and Girls Club know that we're going to be doing some evaluations, and they were actually very much for that, because then if we say, hey, something in your program's not working, the overall program's pretty good, but this piece of your program's not working, then we can tweak it for the following year and see what we can do. So, all right, so we just need a...
Well, thank you for all those comments and for everyone's hard work. At this point, is there someone who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the service agreement with the Boys and Girls Club.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Preferential vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Board vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you. Item 3, approval of service agreement with the Autism Academy for the 25-26 school year.
Just asking for approval of the service agreement for Autism Academy. This is a placement for a student through the special education IEP process. It is a part of the district's offer of a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment.
Okay.
Well, we have to make a motion.
I'm sorry. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the approval of services agreement with Autism Academy.
And I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any questions or discussion on this?
Quick question for you, Dr. Lawrence. So is this a one-year agreement?
Yes.
Okay. And so this agreement, do you anticipate that we may need to, have we done this same agreement in the past? Do you anticipate it will look similar for future?
So a student has an IEP every year. We do assessment at least every 3 years. So through the IEP, we continue to discuss whether or not the student would continue to, require this placement. So we wouldn't know that until the team's able to come together through the IEP process.
Thank you. So comments. So now we're preferential vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Board vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Item C, business services. First item are donations, and we have a donation from Bank of the Sierra for Glen City STEAM Backpack Program in the amount of $750. Thank you so much, Bank of Sierra. And is there a motion to accept the donations?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Preferential vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Board vote, all those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you. And the next item is notice of completion.
evening.
Thank you.
This is for the notice of completion for Schneider Electric, who did energy savings contract throughout the district at various sites. Just need approval.
Do we have any questions or comments on this item?
Just because I'm unfamiliar with it, can you just expand a little bit more on the services they provided?
How about I update you on the Friday update? I would need to get with Doug to all the different items that
Yeah.
Schneider went through and fixed, so I'll make sure to do that.
Cool, thank you.
And you don't have an amount of the savings or did they give you anything, like a report as to what was the final on the
I can find that out
savings?
as well.
Okay. Yeah, I don't, Dr. Weinstein, do you remember, Jeff? Do you remember any of the, this came to us like 2 years ago?
Yeah, so this is,
Just briefly.
this company specializes in getting energy saving grants and then using that money to update our, anything, sometimes it was our HVAC, lighting, all those things to save money. And so no cost is coming out of our pocket, but obviously we reap the benefits of savings, which Lori can get for us.
It initially came in August of 2022.
Yeah.
That's when it first started.
I just wasn't remember there was a cost to us, and that's what I wanted you to remind us about. Okay, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I second.
It's been moved in second. Preferential vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Board vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess.
So we're moving on to item 3, approval of retainer agreement for Lozano Smith LLP, attorneys at law.
So as the board is aware, excuse me, as the board is aware, we use multiple companies or attorney law firms to handle different things within our district. And we have used Lozano Smith in the past, and because it seems like we weren't getting the responses we needed from some of our existing relationships, we wanted to expand that. It's a approval of the rates, which is on the back page. Obviously, this is not just for us, it's for all schools. That's what they specialize in. And so the billing practices, we get monthly invoices based on usage. So and depending on whether you're talking to a partner or an associate and who they have working with you, the rates change per hour.
Do you have any
Yeah,
questions?
Jeff, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but is the 100,000, how does that compare to what do you think the expected spend is going to be? Is this sort of dipping our toes in the water, or?
No, when first 2 years after COVID, we didn't have large impact for attorney fees. Last year, we did. We had a lot of attorney fees, and that was from just different situations that we were dealing with. But I think that we can expect it to be lower than last year, but I have to just be hopeful that nothing happens during the year that would make us obviously need more services.
I think a good thing to remember is that we're also part of the CSBA legal services, which are much cheaper per hour than this. So, I think getting a better understanding of what CSBA can help us in, right? So some of the more routine matters, right? If we can, divvy up the work, right, in that way, because, we can be paying up to $450 an hour, right, if we're not careful. And I'm pretty sure that CSBA is much cheaper than that. More at the $150 an hour, I think, is what their rate is, which is below anything other than the lowliest consultant here. So, so I think we need to be very proactive about utilizing that service. Another thing that I just saw actually in this contract is they provide up to 5 hours of complimentary services, right, of consulting, right, coaching, mentoring, and strategic planning guidance. I think we should take advantage of it. We're paying for it somehow, right? It's built into their rates.
Yeah.
And if there are some things, some training that the board may need, I'd love to see a sort of workshop on that, on any of those avenues. So let's use all 5 hours. So.
So, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the retainer agreement.
I
I'll
second.
Go ahead.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Preferential vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Board vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye, passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, approval and authorization to file the 24-25 unaudited actuals financial reports with the Ventura County Office of Education.
So what are we here for? Unaudited actuals, and what exactly does that mean for all of you? Year-end financial statements of the actual revenue and expenditures through June 30th for all district funds. Update to the estimated actuals that were presented during the June budget adoption process. Report of activities in all district funds identifying unspent funds or reserves that are carried forward. Used by the external auditors to prepare our official audit reports. And then it's an Ed Code requirement, and it must be filed with the county superintendent by September 15th.
Okay, so we broke this out into kind of just looking at the revenue, then looking at expenditures, and then looking at them combined. So for the general fund revenue, it's broken out by unrestricted, restricted, and then to the far right, the total fund. So the first one, the LCFF revenue, what I want to make sure that's understood is we got 631, 325. However, that is inclusive of the 3.6 million that we transferred from 140 over. Okay, so in those particular object codes, that's where that was included. For our other federal revenue, we got the 4.1. Other state, we got 1.7 unrestricted, 13.1 restricted. Local revenue of 4.4 and 7.9 for a total overall revenue of $105 million. Less than 3.6. Right, that was a transfer in from other funds.
Okay, so then we go into expenses. Sorry. Certificated salaries. So you can see, again, it's broken out the same way. Unrestricted and restricted with the total fund the same way it's set up. So going across, certificated salaries, 29.5 million. In the unrestricted, 10.3, and restricted for a total of 39.8. Classified, 10.3, unrestricted, 7.6, restricted, total of 17.9. Benefits, 14 million, 11.6 million, total 25.7 million. Books, supplies, 2.1, 2.5 for a total of 4.6. Services and operating expenses, 10.4, 6.9 for a total of 17.3. Capital outlay, whole 13,000 and 816,000 for a total of 830. And then you have your outgoing expenses, 2.9 million in restricted as a total. And then indirect other outgoing, which goes to our other funds, specifically the CNS and our preschool. That's actually incoming to us for a net difference of the 300,000 you see over there on the far right. Total expenses, 108.8 million.
And on the capital outlay piece of it, you might be wondering, why did that jump so much and it's larger? Those were the expenditure of kit funds from when we did the new kitchen over at Barbara Webster. So that's, some of those expenditures are in there for that. All right, general fund summary. So this is looking at our general fund. So we had revenue of the 76,273 in unrestricted, plus the 3.6 million coming in from Fund 140 for the total of 79 million .8. The restricted as well, the 25,232. Total revenue is the 105,813. So in the unrestricted column, the expenditures were 67,778. The other transfers out, that 561, that is the transfer that we had to make to Fund 120 to cover the preschool kiddos that were not covered under the income qualification. Okay, so that's the transfer that we had to make to cover for those. So our total expenditures there were, well, then the contributions, which end up being a wash, because we're really moving money to cover other funds or other programs out of the general fund. So unrestricted will take the hit, but it'll go into the restricted column. So the net increase decrease in unrestricted, we are up 1.2 million. Now, let's not let that, the reason why we went ahead and we made that transfer is because for our multi-year, in order to get the third year out to be okay, we had to make that transfer. So that's why we didn't reduce this number. But hopefully what this means is next year, we had planned a $3.8 million transfer. Hopefully we don't need to do it at that level. Hopefully we can make some adjustments and not have to do quite as much at all. So we can hope for that. In the restricted column, our net decrease was a 5.4 million, and that's us spending down all of our LRE funds. We had 5 million to start the year. Those are fully expended. There is no more LRE money. Okay.
Fund balances. We started with 13.2 million in unrestricted and 18.4 in restricted for a total of 31.6. We had those net increase and decrease that we talked about on the previous page of the 1.2 million and the negative 5.4 million for the net negative 4.2. So we have an ending balances of 14.4, 13.0, and for a total of 27.4. So then how are we using planning, for those funds? So we have to have our 3% economic reserve. So that's 3.3 million. And then we have put other assignments and committed funds for textbooks, software, safety, facilities funds. So those 5.5 million, another 5.2 leaves us 320,000 that is unassigned at this point in time.
So just did a little quick and dirty of, this is what is left in the restricted resource balances. To your point, Mr. Sandoval, we ended resource 2600 with 2.9 million that we had, that's available for us to roll into next year. So along with next year's allocation, we still have this 2.9 that we need to spend as well. So I just grabbed the bigger ones. We still have AMI, we have 1.4. In lottery instructional materials, we have $1 million there to do textbooks for next year. Ongoing maintenance, we've got 1.2 there. Other restricted state, that 4 million, we got some money for energy, the AB 841, there's 2 million there. $1 million in Medi-Cal billing that we have, and then we have some money from CYBHI, which
$200,000 more.
Yeah, $200,000 there. So in our in that balance, that kind of what makes up that 15 million, 13 million is these here ending fund balances in these different resources.
So this is basically the summary of the other funds, just real high level. I don't know if you want to go through the actual line item details, but ASB, they end up with 561,000. Your adult ed has 171,000 left. The preschool shows 356. We'll have to break that down further for you because they really have a net zero for their bottom line. So that's a little deceptive, sorry. Cafeteria has 3.6 million left. Deferred maintenance still has 1.1 million left. The building fund, 213 and 214, has 43 million. The facilities fund, 225, that shows a negative 492, but that was because we had expected revenues that we had from, I think it's Lennar, that does the Harvest building out there, and they had plans for certain income, and one of their payments for June came in late, so we couldn't book it until July, but we had the expenses already there. So we have received that actual payment of 600 plus thousand, so it is covered, not to worry. Then your school facilities has 10.5 left. Our special reserves has 31 million, and 51 has 4 million left. So,
And that special reserves fund, we also moved the Brighton Gym money in there. So of that 31 million, 22 million of it is the Brighton Gym. So we kind of wanted it to put it somewhere where it was kind of isolated and we could easily keep track of it. So that's where that is. It's also got some green schoolyards money in there and some interest in there as well. All right. So estimated actuals versus unaudited actuals. We were planning on being $8 million in the hole. We actually ended up being $4 million in the hole. And the reason for that was a couple of things. We received, I budgeted very conservatively for interest based on the way things are right now, kind of a little bumpy. And we got interest far beyond. So that was about a $2.1 million above and beyond, above and beyond what we thought we were going to receive. So that's a good portion of it. We also didn't spend down our lottery like we thought we were going to. Some of those expenditures are going to be done this year. So we budgeted for them to have this happen in 24-25, but they're actually going to happen in 25-26. There were some sped reductions. Do you want to talk about those?
yeah, it's actually not 1.5. It's about 800,000. Sorry, my mistake. It's a combination of IA positions that were not fully staffed. We did use some subs, but we did not staff all of those. And there was some pessimism on my part for some of the professional fees. So it came in better than we thought, to the tune of $500,000, which was good, and a little bit of transportation costs had come down. So they saved there. Plus the community schools grant was a $500,000 savings that we didn't list here. That is, we basically had a slow start, and now we're starting to get the staffing going, and that'll roll into this next year. So those are the big things.
So kudos to SPED on that one. So the final thing is, in accordance with Ed Code 41010, we need to have you guys bless the unaudited actuals so we can move those forward and submit them to the county. Do you have any questions on any of these?
Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, so under the summary of funds, I believe it's slide 8, 8, 11, all the way up to 51. So on the ending balance, are any of those use it or lose it funds? No. So then we get to then carry over.
They roll over.
Okay.
Yeah. And Fund 8, just to be clear, that's a combination of all of our ASBs. It's not just the high school, it's the high school, the middle school, and Renaissance.
Okay, that's good to hear. So there was one other I wanted to address, but I think it's the arts and music in schools, 658,000. That's in slide 7. Resource 6770. Did I hear? I don't know if I read it, heard it that that funding was going to be reduced. Did we hear any of that or?
When we planned our estimated actuals, I did plan for a reduction, and so far this year, it's actually coming in a little bit higher than we thought, which I think that was partly because of the UPP numbers. We got a better percentage overall, so that was good news. Plus, in addition to that, we did get a waiver at the end of this last year for our first year's funds, which helps us go from the 80-20% that we had to do.
Maybe explain that a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We have to use 80% year to year is what we're supposed to use for labor, right? For certificated or classified labor, and then 20% can be used for materials. But because the timing that we had of receiving those funds and already having a master schedule and all the classes already done, we couldn't just jump and throw in new classes at the last minute. So we did request a waiver. Dr. Moore did that right before he left, and we did get that approved so that we can use the funds differently into a 50-50 split for those first funds. That funding lasts us over the 3 years. So we now have this next year, this current year, to use that money a little differently, which is a help. And then they can continue with the other years. And yes, we are getting the funding continually, which we didn't think originally, so that all helps us as well.
And then my final comment is, I just want to say, really good job by being really conservative with the spending, because in the long run, we were able to save some money, because we were projecting out 8 million in deficit, and to be at 4 million, which means that, you know, we still have to be creative in how we spend, and we still have to continue to do the hard work. But
And again, that's with a transfer. Don't forget that.
yeah,
That's
the
with
3
transfer.
million,
So if we
3.6
wouldn't
million.
have done that transfer, that would have been, that 2.4 would have turned, you know, much higher amount we would have been in the hole.
I understand. And again, and I know that I myself am not in favor of hopefully not having to do that transfer again in the future. It's just something I'm just not comfortable doing, but I know we were desperate, you know, times calls for desperate measures. So I want to continue to again, charge our leadership team to continue to find ways to save the money where we need to save it, or be creative in spending the money, so that there are some savings and maybe in our restricted and general fund. So, but again, good job. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll ask afterwards.
Okay. So a few things. Some things I just want to point out. Our federal revenue of 4.1. Is it good to assume, or is it correct to assume that the mental health grant is part of that $4.1 million? For last year.
We got money, and we have only partially included money for this next year, but we haven't got future money planned for that. We do not have approval on the waivers for that yet.
Right. So, because that grant was terminated, I mean, for all intents and purposes, as far as we know.
12/31, I believe.
Is it 12/31? Okay. So the concern I have on that is, what about all the staff that it's paying for right now?
I believe it's the understanding that 12/31 is when the funding ends, but if you have encumbered people, it doesn't make them just stop on January 1st.
Right.
So they're covered technically through June.
As long as the encumbrance is there by 12/30.
Okay. So that does mean, though, that next year we have to look at where that,
You gotta figure
who was,
what expenditures were coming out of that fund, and figure out how to redistribute them.
yeah. The other thing about the federal funding, right? I don't know if you've been following the House negotiations, right? But right now, Title I is on the chopping block, right? Not fully, but about 27%. A lot of the other titles were already excluded from the first bill. I'm really nervous, right, about what's going to happen with the rest of that federal revenue. You know, there's a lot of talk on what might happen. We live in a Democratic district, right? So our particular representative doesn't have a whole heck of a less sway on Capitol Hill, but you know, it's something that we need to be watching very intently. The problem that we're going to have is that we're probably going to end up with a continuing resolution, because this is all due September 30th, right? That's when they're supposed to have a budget. And the October 1st is the beginning of the federal fiscal year. Chances are, right, that there's talk they're going to push that into January. So we might not know 100% what's going to happen. Because last year, I think the continuing resolution went all the way into March or April, right? Which is past our March 15th deadline.
A large portion of Title I is assigned out to the school sites in their budgets.
So again, it's for next year
Right.
that I'm worried about,
But I
right?
think there's a few bodies assigned to it, but not many.
Okay, so again, we're going to have to just understand what that's paying for, what it would look like if we do lose what's being proposed. We've got to be proactive about those things, because again, March 15th is March 15th, you know, and we have to figure out what we're doing by then. Okay, so the preschool transfer gives me agita. Make sure,
for
you
this
guys
new
are
year-
two very different heights. All right, so make sure you get down to the, or pull it up, right, so that the people online can hear you in that.
Sorry.
So that's all right.
Those kids that were non-income qualified are now either in TK or kindergarten. So that issue is going away, and we're not allowing the same type of issue to occur this year. We're making sure that the kids that are coming in are income qualified.
That certainly is one part of the puzzle, right? I mean, the other part is making sure that we have full classrooms.
Working on that as well.
Yeah, and so, you know, if we're looking at all of the different things that we need to do, right, we cannot be underwater in preschool. We can't. I mean, it's not core to what we do. So I will be interested to follow that train. Let's move on to restricted. So in terms of that negative $5 million, right? Now, I do understand that we were running down some of the one-time COVID money, right? It's great to be rich, right? But when you're not rich anymore, how do you pay for it? So what concerns me is what that negative $5 million represents, and how we're going to end up paying for whatever might have been paid for.
Those were all the people that were funded out of LRE in 24-25. Those people have been moved in the adopted budget. They're in the general fund, the majority of them. Some of them did get reallocated to LCAP. Some of them, due to attrition, just didn't, went away. But that 5 million is absorbed in the adopted budget.
Okay. So that's another thing that we do need to recognize, at least, right? That we have made significant cuts, because if that's true, that's $5 million that we're not spending this year, right?
Well, we are spending.
Well, we are. I mean,
spending it
no,
out of
but
the
we don't have it. We did spend it out of the restricted, but we don't have it to spend there anymore.
Correct.
So the unrestricted didn't go up by $5 million. It's staying roughly the same. So we did absorb it into that. Like, I mean, yeah, we might be paying for some of those positions. We're not paying for everything that we were paying out of that.
Correct.
So, what other one-time money, what other booby traps do we have in that? Is there anything? Because remember, we've talked, before, right? And it's always really hard for me to get my head around the restricted, because there's the ongoing restricted money, like ELOP, right? That we know is there from year to year, at least for now. But then there's one-time grants, right? That are there and then expire, right? So it's really hard for me to tell whether that revenue, that $25 million that we got, is something that we should expect next year. Or is it really $20 million that we should expect next year? So yeah, I don't know if there's anything to say about that other than
I've done a revenue book that parses it all out, and I think I've shared it with Mike. I can share that with you as well, because it does have a column whether or not it's one time or reoccurring. So I'll share that with you.
Yeah.
As well.
Sure.
Actually, I think you need to.
I'll send it to
Yeah, once you've done it to one, everybody's got to know, the transfer. So we really need to work really hard for the first interim to see what we can get that down to. I don't know if the budget committee has met yet or when it's going to start to meet. But anything, again, we can save this year just makes it easier for next year.
The first
and
budget meeting is the 25th of this month.
yeah. And so, if we can figure out how to utilize some of those fund balances that we've seen, because we've got $12 million there, and all of those should be zero, right? We should be spending what we're bringing in. There's nothing there that says we need to be accumulating. But that does go into my last point, right? That I don't know if anybody knows, but by policy, right, the board has set a goal of 17% in our reserves, and we're nowhere close to that.
No.
Now, I don't know where that 17% came from. I don't know if that's really realistic. I think our labor partners would be like, why are you squirreling away so much money? Certainly we don't want to just do the minimum, statutory minimum of 3%. That's insane too, right? It might be something that we revisit at some point, to maybe get a number that's a little bit more realistic, one that keeps our cash flow, right? Because I know that that's a big deal. I don't want to take out any trans, right? You know, for sure, right? So maybe, you know, in your spare time, figure out what do we really want in the bank, you know, what makes sense. So
Agreed, but the part of the problem there is with making your MYP when you're scrolling so much away. It makes a I mean, honestly, we made it by $147 our third year out. So that makes it hard to increase our putting more than 3% away.
So, Lori, question on the federal revenue, it seems like every year it's like less. Looking at the other attachments that you provided, I think the 23, 24 had like 11 point something, and then we went down to a 4. What's happening?
There's programs that were given during COVID especially.
Oh,
that are running out that were federal revenue that we were able to take advantage of. And those fundings have slowly dried up. I mean, there's rumors that we're going to get more LRE money, but I haven't seen anything concrete.
Yeah, so I mean, I know you guys do a great job and try to cut wherever we can. So, but when funding gets cut, it's like, what can we eliminate? And then on the percentage, Trustee Sandoval mentioned about there being in our policy 17%, but the reserve, but then that changed with the law, Mr. Weinstein, to a under 10%.
that's one of those where if the state is putting into it and develops one, then we have to go, we can only have up to 10, but that's no longer applicable because I don't think they're.
They used to have a max where you can only have so much.
So it did kick in last year, I think or 2 years ago, which is why we encumbered as much as we did into deferred maintenance and some other things, economic uncertainty.
Yes.
Right. So we spent it and now we're spending.
Now we're moving it back and spending it. Correct.
And then just one minor question on, thank you for slide 8, where you put the different funds, and for the explanation of kind of a combined. But you have another report if we wanted to see like what all, like you were mentioning, for example, Fund 8, it's all the schools of ASB, and then adult education, it'll show everything that falls under each line item. My question on Fund 13 cafeteria, does that also include like equipment, like if they need a stove or?
That's all in the total expenditures. Yes.
So like, for example, the Barbara Webster remodeled that expensive
That particular
table that they
expense
needed.
didn't come out of Fund 13.
But it could then.
It could. If she wanted to buy more stuff, she could. But the Barbara Webster kitchen, that came out of the KIT funds, which was resource 7085, I believe, 786, 7029, sorry. So that was a separate pot of money that we had that we fully expended for that. And then anything extra that she wants to buy this year totally could come out of Fund 13.
Okay, I was just wondering that if it was like construction funds that we can use for actual development, then.
She can use her fund, her cafeteria fund for upgrades for her kitchens.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that the 5310 allows for construction, but we can look into that. But I know she can buy supplies, kitchen equipment.
No, I was just saying that if that equipment, the table or kitchen appliances, those large expensive ones, if they were used out of a fund that could also be used for construction, then it would seem that it would be better use of our money to pay it out of Fund 13.
I get where she's at. Like if the KIT funds were for construction as well as for
yeah, I'd rather it
hardcore,
come out of
I mean,
cafeteria.
appliances, right? But if we can play for appliances out of our cafeteria fund, why wouldn't we do that so that we can save for the capital? But I think that that's a grant, though. It was
had an
a specific.
date that we had to spend them all by this year.
Oh, well, that then definitely use any
Use
that.
that up first.
And that's, I guess, why I think a lot of us ask about our grants and what the funds are to make sure that we don't let free money go.
Yeah, believe me.
Thank you so much. So if no other questions, would someone like to make a motion?
No, no questions, just, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think, slide 8 in particular really kind of drives the story home for me. I mean, there's not many other places to do those transfers anymore. And so we have to get really serious about, adopting a balanced budget and sticking to it. I mean, that's just really what this is. I mean, I don't really have a lot of questions because we're looking at the past and we're just telling a story. It's more focused on what we do in the future, but I do want to appreciate and say thank you to staff. I know this is a lot of work doing these kind of financial statements, and kudos to the school staff too. I mean, having an estimated deficit of close to 8, I understand that there was a transfer there that helped, cover some of that, but at least it's moving in the right direction, I will say. So.
Would you like to make that motion too?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
I thought.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved in second. Preferential vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Board vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
So we are on item 8, consent calendar. I'm sorry. Item D, human resources. I even circled it. Establish one new child nutrition services assistant position for 5.5 hours at Barbara Webster.
Good evening, board members. The district is requesting to establish a new child nutrition services assistant position. This is a 5.5-hour, 10-month position. It will be based at Barbara Webster Elementary School, but the employee will serve as a roving substitute to cover absences and vacancies across all sites. This position will help ensure uninterrupted meal service and reduce reliance on short-term substitutes, and it will be fully funded through the Child Nutrition Fund.
Is there any questions or comments?
So I have a question. So what happens with that particular individual when attendance is at 100% across the board?
Then I believe the plan would be that they would stay at the location that they're based at to help the kitchen at that day.
Okay.
But I can say from monitoring frontline on a daily basis, we are rarely at 100% attendance.
And that brings me to my second question, and maybe it's not on here, but if we're having attendance issues, I mean, I think I think it needs to be addressed. Because I don't have a problem with this position, but I think we just clearly said that we need to be more careful about how we're spending, and yet we're asking for another position. So that concerns me, because we just heard some good news, but now we're going to circumvent that problem by hiring someone new. That maybe it's a management issue, and I don't know. So that's if it's an attendance issue, then I think we need to address it as an attendance issue and not band-aid it by bringing in an additional person. So maybe I'm hearing it wrong, but that's what I did here.
Yeah, because I thought they already had subs too in the positions of people that you already have for subs.
I
So
had a meeting with Suzanne today, and she had 9 people out across the different school sites. So she is really scrambling. As far as management is concerned, she's doing the best she can, but she needs some help. And the other problem with that is when subs are called, sometimes they don't show up, or sometimes there's no subs available at all. So this position will help her at least try to figure out, it can help at least plug a hole every day.
And that plugging the hole every day would be at any particular school site? Okay. So that's what makes the roving sub. Again, I'm still concerned about this isn't a calling out of Ms. Stamp. Please know that. But I understand that. I get attendance as an issue. I mean, I'm old school. You know, you have a job, you do your job, and you do it well. Sometimes it means, I get it.
And again, this is going to be funded out of Fund 130, not the general fund.
Okay, and that fund is not an impacted fund in terms of.
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I do wonder, right? Because look, at that fund has been doing well for a while. Now, we do, again, right? That's a lot of federal money that's coming in. We have to make sure that, with the cuts or what have you, that's not going to be impacted, right? So I don't want to just start cavalierly spending out of it. Certainly the fund can afford a $30,000 position. I would even say, like, if maybe we're, because of the lack of benefits, we're not attracting people who are all that committed to this position, right? Maybe we need to restructure it, because we do have a little bit more to make it more appealing to a higher quality, candidate, people who are going to actually show up. It could just be that I know that there's COVID's been going around and people have been sick, right? So it could just also be like that 9 is like an anomaly. But again, I would, I guess with Trustee Frutos, kind of analyze the situation and how do we address that. But again, this is the one fund this is one of the funds that we don't worry about because Ms. Stamp is doing such a great job with what she's got. So we want to keep on supporting that program. So however, whatever she needs, right, let us know.
It should be noted that a large portion of child nutrition services staffing is 3 hours. So, if they're 5.5, they're working kind of 2 shifts type thing. So prep in the morning for prepping the meals, getting them ready, and then actually serving through lunch.
Also, I do believe that staff is very good about, they are conservative, given the fact that they are serving meals. If they're not feeling well, they do make sure to not come to work. Whereas a lot of other positions, maybe people can come to work when they're not feeling well, but we want to be careful with when we're serving food to students.
Yeah, I did also have concerns about it, but the fact that there is funding for it, it makes a big difference. And I mean, is it best to be 5.5 hours or 2 of 3 hours? If they're having this shortage, you're saying like 9 people at a time? I mean,
It is a regularly, a position that's regularly, there's a lot of absences. I can go back and discuss this with the director of classified HR and with Suzanne Stamp to see if there's anything we can do to kind of help address the situation.
yeah, because I do know people who've applied and the time it takes to apply and the waiting list, and then by then they've found other jobs. So I don't know how many openings you have already and how many are still not fulfilled. Do you happen to know how many positions?
I don't off the top
And
of
that
my
could be a
head.
future, like just on a report. I've
Yes.
just been hearing that there's just a lot of positions that are not filled.
The personnel commission process, I do know that it does take longer to fill positions. Once they're posted, it still takes a bit of time. So I do know that, that happens regularly. But I can communicate those concerns again to Greg.
Thank you.
So, Trustee Arroyo, are you then asking maybe to table this and then?
No, I just feel like there's probably going to be a higher need, and maybe just in the future, like, if there's funding for it, why are we making that area struggle so much? I mean, as it is, all the years my kids have gone to school here, the lines are too long. I mean, constantly, I would just take them lunch at the high school as an example, even though you're not supposed to, but I'd rather have my child eat and have something, or they would find somebody to microwave it for them. And I'm talking years ago. Now it's just more, it's a little different. So as a parent, it's been a frustration all the years. So my daughter was very picky. So, she would just take her items, but High school's a little bit different. You want to be with your friends, and they have pizza and they have different things, but the lines are so long. I mean, I would love for our student trustees, if I'm wrong, speak out, or does it?
No, the lines are extremely long. I experienced that today.
So yeah, if there's funding for it, I definitely would want, our program to have.
Also, another thing is that since there's only like a limited amount of certain food, like I know a lot of my friends, they're kind of picky with their food. So like by the time that we get there, because of how long the lines are, there's no more of what we want to eat. So most of my friends just end up not eating.
I will definitely communicate those concerns to to Suzanne Stamp and to Greg.
Yeah, even the food items.
Yeah,
I mean, even the food items, you'll know what ends and.
And I think maybe then what it really comes down to is, so we're really not, maybe I'm not questioning this position going forward, but then maybe what else can we do to support the department? Because we're not trying to get in the way of their function, but we just want to make sure that we're doing all we're supposed to be doing to support our things. So with that in mind, I move to establish one new child nutrition service assistance, 5.5 hours.
No, just to make a comment too, yeah, I just want to say I agree with what the board is saying. If this is an attendance problem, it seems like adding one more classification isn't going to fix the root of it, right? Because it's going to be a 10th person that's going to call in absent. So just trust if we can maybe try and figure out why there's so many absences. But yeah, if staff thinks this will help, then yeah, I support it. No.
Oh, thank you.
I have to note that most school districts lose money in their food services, and the general fund ends up paying for it. Since I've been here, Suzanne has managed it so that we make money every year to put aside for the following year. So,
Which is why I think we need to invest in it, So this is one where I'm not nickel and diming it. So.
Well, we have a motion, and I would like to make the second. If there's no other questions or comments. No? Okay. So it's been moved in second, and this will just be a board vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Huh? Okay, item 8. Consent items are considered routine and will be enacted by a single motion. None of the items will be discussed unless a board member requests discussion prior to the vote of the motion to adopt the consent calendar. And with that said, is there any items that need to be pulled?
I do have one item that I'd like to have pulled for further discussion, and that will be performance matters, R26-01002.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's under item,
Consent calendar.
It's
under,
8A1, the approval of contracts. Pretty sure it's under that one.
okay.
So hold on. Can we have I'd like to move to approve the consent calendar with the exception of the performance matter contract.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I second.
So it's been moved in second. No, sorry, board vote, all those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. 5-0. Okay. Okay, so on to the item.
Thank you. The only question I have is because I know we've seen this item in our dockets in the past, but I really don't know. And again, please enlighten me, please educate me. Are we getting our bang for our buck? I mean, and that's kind of where I'm at. Again, it goes along the line of, do we need to spend $36,000? If we do, then I'm not going to get in the way of that. But if we can save it by not approving this contract, that's where I'm at. So
Okay, so originally the contract came in at $59,000 and I reviewed it and went back to Performance Matters and we got it down to the level that you're at. That was after meeting with Santa Paula High School and Isbell. Both use the test creation portion, the scan portion, and all of the data for elementary is housed there. So teachers put all of their math data, the language arts data. We will investigate other options for next year outside of Performance Matters, but we were able to eliminate a lot of unnecessary items from that contract. So this is kind of not the bare bones, but this was what sites felt they could use this year moving forward.
And just out of curiosity, so again, speaking from a teacher perspective, and I know this throughout our district, we use Q for Q analytics, and a lot of our data goes in there, and then we get to generate our reports, report cards, progress reports, so on. How different is Performance Matter to something like Q that we're also a network, that we have a network with Q?
So when Performance Matters first came to the district, it was billed kind of as the one-stop shop where everything could happen. We could house data from all the way down our preschool data, which we do not use it for preschool or TK, but kindergarten through 12th grade. It allows people to create tests. It has standards banks there, so all of the tests that are created are California State Standards based. They have a baseball card and a scoreboard that you can, well, the baseball card per student, and it follows them throughout their trajectory, and the scoreboard that the sites can use to pull. I think that Q is something that we need to look into, but at this point, you know, the contract was there earlier in the year and we pulled it so that we could pare some money off of it. And this was what sites and teachers and administrators felt like they could work with this year.
Again, if you're telling us that sites want it and they're using it, again, I'm not going to get in the way of it. I just want to make sure that we're not duplicating
Understood.
this effort if we have other programs that we're paying into. So,
Right.
but okay, thank you.
Thank you for pulling it, and it's worth discussion since, you know, they're large ticket items, and kudos to staff for bringing that down. So with that said, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Been moved. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Board vote, all those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay. Moving on to item 9, board member comments and requests for future agenda items. And we will start with Trustee Gonzalez.
I have no comments related to the meeting. I'd only like to give my sympathies and sincerest condolences to the Kirk family right now.
Thank you. Trustee Magana.
No comment.
Trustee Torres.
No comment.
No future agenda items for you guys? Not yet? Okay. So Trustee Kumazawa,
I have no comments tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Yeah, happy board meeting, everyone. Thank you to Glen City for having a wonderful back to school night last week. It was amazing. Shout out to Daisy from the PTA for doing such a wonderful job with making sure students are entertained, families felt included. It was a beautiful ceremony for a big school. They had a lot of big hearts going on right there. I also want to extend my condolences to the three students that were injured in the Evergreen High School shooting that did occur today. They're in my heart, they're in my thoughts. Anytime when students are in pain, you know, I always react with sadness.
Thank you. Trustee Sandoval.
I had been invited to sit on an advisory board for the Santa Paula Branch Line Trail project. We had an advisory meeting within the last 2 weeks. That is the project that will create a pedestrian/bike lane from Ventura all the way out to Piru. It's in its beginning phases. It's really interesting to see, you know, the path that they're trying to create. I just wanted to alert the public, there will be a workshop on this proposed bike and pedestrian trail in Santa Paula on Tuesday, August the 7th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Santa Paula Ag Museum.
When? You said
October
August.
7th.
Oh,
October,
October.
sorry. Did I say August?
Yes.
You know, sure, it was August. No, in October. So in a few weeks. So people can know, they can look at the map and put their input in. So I think that's cool. I did go to the Santa Paula High School. Welcome back. I did manage to go there. Always great to see the high school. But my gosh, that library. I can't wait till the ribbon cutting. I'll be a little late, right? But I'll get there. I actually would love, I don't know if anybody wants to hear this, right? But to move our meetings there because it's nice and air conditioning. It is brightly lit. It is big and it has that configurable space. I don't know what IT might think about that or anybody else, right? Because it is very conveniently next to the district office, but it's that great of a space. I really just love how it came together. So if you haven't seen it, you're in for a treat.
That's a good feature board. See if they can look at the space and see if they can make it work.
Maybe, huh?
The storage.
Storage. It's the storage there. So the new teacher barbecue was held this last Monday, sponsored by Rotary. Thank you, Rotary, for every year sponsoring that. It's always good to see, the new staff and welcome them. So that's a nice tradition to take part of. And on Saturday, we had our grand opening of our Building and Trade CTE building. And it was just a great event. Lots of people, our Senator Limon came, Assemblymember Irwin came. There was a lot of representation of the students and their parents. So it was just a great event, and it was good to see that building. Can't wait till it's really ready to go, right? Because I think there's still more to be done. But so excited about that particular CTE. It has been something I've been pushing for a number of years, and it's great to see it in action, and so many kids are wanting to get into it. So, and finally, I do have one requested agenda item. All right, in 5 days. Anybody know what happens in 5 days? It's National Hispanic, Heritage Month, right? So it'd be nice to have a resolution, for next meeting, right? To honor that. Right.
Do you remember they also had the anatomy table on the other side? Was that the health pathway, the CTE? Did you go upstairs? Okay. Trustee Frutos.
Yeah, I want to say happy birthday to California, 175 years in the Union. Way to go, the 31st state. Couple of things. Staff, just thank you guys again for all the excellent presentations and the willingness to go back and forth as questions. It just feels right. It feels good that we get to do and have that kind of dialogue and knowing that it is coming from a good place. We know sometimes we do shake it up a little bit on this end, and I'll speak for myself. I hope you know where we're coming from or where I'm coming from, and I do appreciate all that you do. I did attend the new barbecue or the new teachers barbecue sponsored by the Rotary Club on Monday. Again, thank you to the staff that were present. Jeff, you did a really good job making all the introductions and getting our district on the map and keeping us on the map, right? But thank you, Rotary, and welcome all the new teachers. And that's all I have. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for all your comments. On Saturday, I was also able to attend the Building Trade CT building. It was wonderful just to see, the fact that we had representatives of, like Monique Limon, and it was Julia... Jackie Uring, and no, it was Jackie. And then our, an ex-mayor of LA, Villaraigosa. So he was a little late, but I think the kids really liked his speech, and everyone, there was a lot of people, and the students I believe there's currently 5 girls in the courses, and there was 1 in attendance. So that was nice to see that some of our female students are also taking part in that. They're just great skills to have. I mean, someday when you're on your own and those skills just are very handy. So I just encourage more girls to sign up for those courses. It may not be like wood shop, what we had back when I was in school, or the drafting classes. Hopefully, they can do that in some of the other CTEs. But it was nice to be there Saturday morning and to show off, a renovation of an existing building that we have on campus. And like Trustee Sandoval mentioned, there are a few things that need to be, some TLC around the exterior. I'm not sure what's still left on the interior, but it was nice to also see that there was also a space for our health CTE for like the anatomy table. It was nice to see the fact that there was a $100,000 grant that paid for that, so that our students get to have, hands-on with equipment like that. And the fact that we got it with a grant is very nice. I also went to the back to school night where we got to, well, as a parent, walk into the classrooms and see who our teachers are, since our campuses are closed. So it's a great time to visit with teachers and meet the teachers, and also having all the other booths available for parents to attend and receive information. And just to staff, as always, thank you for all your hard work and for the extra hours that you guys put into your work to provide us the information that we're asking. And I do have a request for future, actually, no, not an agenda item, but just maybe on a Friday board update, just where we're at with the staffing at our preschools and the classroom sizes, what we've done to improve on that, or just a status of where we see enrollment. And with that, our next meeting is September 24th. And I would like to adjourn this meeting at 7:52 if there's no other items. So we'll close this meeting today at 7:52.